Hello, and welcome back to another Elevated Marketing podcast, where we simplify complicated digital marketing topics to make your business grow. My name is Jennifer Denny, and today we are going to talk about going beyond the click of an ad. What happens on the landing page and what you can look at in order to get better results from the ad. So, today's fun question though is, are you into after work happy hours?
Oh. Um, I mean, I have those happy hours like at my house. I mean, sometimes Thursdays, like I could look forward to that, like almost there. Mondays, if it's been a hard day,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah. How about you?
Oh, I think it's a challenge anymore because we're not in the same city, we're not close, we're not coming to an office or something like that.
Mhm.
I mean, if you were, it's not that I wouldn't wanna hang out with people, it's more of like, "I've seen you all day, okay? Now I wanna go home."
I could very well see myself in the same boat. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to go home.
But then when you're, like, virtual like we are, it's kinda like, "Oh, I wanna, just go talk with people that I work with because I only see them in the morning time."
No, we definitely get that added benefit of like when we are able to get together, it's that much more fun and like meaningful because it's not often that we're
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I'm bad about this too with networking events that are at nighttime. I'm like, I'm usually tired by that time,
Mhm.
and the whole peopling thing, I'm over. But I want to talk with people. I just have to make more room for it. So, all right. Well, let's talk about, going the beyond the click of an ad, what happens on the landing page, and I'm just gonna kinda set the story is, there's all this stuff that happens before you get to the landing page that will make a ad campaign successful, but then you get to the landing page and you're like, "Well, it's not converting. What's happening?"
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
So, let's talk about, what metrics to kind of look at and what those might be. So, you want to give us a couple?
Yeah, I would say first looking at well, maybe not the first metric you look at, but one metric you should pay attention to is probably your average session duration on that page.
Mhm.
That'll tell you how quickly they're bouncing out or if, maybe they're a little bit more engaged and are willing to spend more time. I think that can tell you a lot about your landing page.
Yep, yep. How much time is being sent on there? Um, I would tie into that, okay, they've spent some time, but how far down the page did they scroll? And so what was their scroll behavior? With G4, you can get a lot of metrics to see, maybe they spent some time, but the page was just open and they never scrolled down. So that time on page can be a little elusive.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with that one too, if you're well, you should be paying attention to that. Um, it can help guide you on all of these metrics will help guide you on, how you can change your landing page. But I do think with like scroll rate, like that's a really good place to look when you're looking for where your call to actions should be.
Hmm.
If you're only scrolling 50%, then you need to have a call to action above that.
I Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they don't necessarily need the call to action. They just haven't found it valuable enough
Mhm.
to keep scrolling. So that could be either or scenario. Um, Another real good tool that isn't available with G4 though is like heat maps where you can kind of see where people are clicking at. Maybe they're expecting to go through to something and it's just not quite there.
Yeah, very true. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think another metric to pay attention to, kind of falling in the same realm, is your overall engagement rate on your page.
Hmm.
And it's just going to tell you how your audience is responding to your page, if they're responding in that sort
Yep.
of.
And engagement rate is a measurement of did somebody click through to different pages of the website? Did they actually have an event happen? And an event is could be things that Google's automatically tracking, but it also could be things that you have delineated as important. And so if they're engaged, then you have people that are engaged. And so from there, it might be like, okay, they're excited, but maybe they're not ready to buy yet.
Mhm.
And so then you need to think about, okay, am I properly leading to other items that people would be interested in?
Yeah,
And you got to have that internal linking of, okay, here's the next like logical step that somebody would want to go.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And maybe as you're looking through that, you can see like what the specific pages are that people are stopping at and be like, okay, well, I'm missing this next, or they're not going any further. So maybe I need to hit them with a different type of marketing. So,
Very fun.
um, you know me, I get into this data stuff. I think a common question I hear though is, what is a good metric? Like people are like, oh, well, what is a good engagement rate? And, the answer is, above 60% is average and 70% you're getting kind of into the great range. But really, you need to look at your own metrics and determine your own baseline. If somebody has set up an event to fire that makes your engagement rate look really good, then that kind of throws that out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, okay, so you're looking at this. What can these post-click metrics help you determine about maybe things before the click? Uh, it's possible that you are targeting the wrong audience altogether. So, if you're in the advertising platform and you're testing different audiences and maybe one of yours is just not hitting the mark, you need to be looking at that at the two different, maybe you're testing two different audiences and be like, okay, well, this one's not working. So that could be like misalignment on the copy, or you know,
Yeah.
it, there could be a lot there.
Yeah. Well, and to go with that too, I mean, your landing page and your ad/ad copy also need to reflect one another.
Hmm.
Maybe that's not translating well when they're clicking on the
Yeah.
ad.
Well, if you had a good click through rate, you enticed them enough.
Yeah.
They got over there, and then they got over there and they didn't find what they were expecting to find. Those are the different things you have to test.
Yeah. What about like page speed? If you've got a slower loading page, I mean, that could easily make them click off and not even wait to see what you're offering.
Absolutely. That's a metric we didn't mention earlier. If the page loads too slow, they're not going to wait. And so the metric you might see there though is a high bounce rate. And then you've got to determine, why is it a high bounce rate? Is it the wrong audience, or is it site speed, like you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, we've talked about this before, but I always want to bring it up is there's a lot of pitfalls in having what we call isolated landing pages. And this is a landing page that has no other information on it other than trying to get you to do one desired action.
Mhm.
And I'm not a fan.
Yeah, well, and it's also closed off from any navigation too, and so
Yep.
when someone is clicking over, I mean, as you're saying, they're isolated, they're stuck on that one page, and so it's difficult for that audience to learn more about you and what
Yep.
you do.
People need a variety of information, and you can't have this big giant landing page with like all of this information and expect that that's all they're going to see. You got about 5% chance that that's going to actually happen.
Yeah. Well, and even with, loading all this information onto one page, I mean, sometimes that's just too much for people to retain, and they need to kind of split their attention between different pages in order to retain that information.
Yep. Yep.
Attention span.
It's just not, and sometimes people will do it and they're like putting it on a different type of like a whole different URL. Okay, well now you're splitting up data and the ability to remarket.
Yeah.
So that's a bad idea. Uh,
And that would affect SEO too, correct? If it's a
well, if it's a whole different domain, then you're not getting any SEO value.
yeah.
And we always say that you should build a landing page like you would build a regular web page. They should all work together. It just shouldn't be isolated. So,
Mhm.
really, you should be able to hit SEO and what you need for a landing page on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so, I mean, I would also say just in general, spending too much time trying to overthink like what to put on a landing page and uh, you know not getting the ads running so that you can kind of use the data to decide what works and not works is not a good idea.
Mhm.
I've seen people spend months and then just put this absorbent pressure into getting instantaneous results, and that's
Yeah.
not how it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's essentially kind of going in blind because you don't know how well your audience will respond to the
Yeah.
landing page you've spent so much time on when really you should be testing and
Yeah.
the
I
adjustment.
mean, digital ads is like the one place where you really can, with the best accuracy, be able to get in front of your audience. And so they're instruments for learning and adapting how to go to market with your products. Um, it's if it was that easy, I mean, everybody would have instantaneous results, and that's not really how it works.
Mhm. For sure.
So, any other last minute things other than just for me, understanding there is a lot that happens after that click that maybe is affecting before the click.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about the metrics you should be paying attention to when it comes to your landing page. And to go with that, not turning a blind eye to certain metrics because that is going to help you, improve your page and therefore improve your results. But
Yeah, be patient. You need enough data to make it a statistically sound decision. If you're constantly making decisions without enough data, then you could be doing more harm than good. Um, there's just as much money being spent in talking about something over and over instead of just letting the data kind of tell the story.
mhm, yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think that wraps it up for this topic for now. We appreciate you listening in. If you'd like to rate and review, that could certainly help other people to be able to hear more of this show. And we do have a newsletter, so if you can't catch every show, be sure to sign up for that as we put the links in those newsletters. So, all right, take care.